This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency space. Let's do it. My guest today is Albert Zhang. Albert is the founder and CEO of Compute Labs, helping to financialize AI by enabling direct exposure to compute assets, yield, and derivatives. Welcome to the show, Albert.
Hi, yes, it's my pleasure, Andy, and thanks for having me.
My pleasure indeed to have you, Albert. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be cool if you could please introduce yourself. I'd love to hear some of your personal and professional backstory, or what have you been doing in the lead up to founding Compute Labs?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm the founder and CEO of Compute Labs. I officially launched the project in late March this year, and we closed our pre-seed round in April. Before Compute Labs, my last crypto project is called Delicium. I was there helping with the community operations and also some of the partnership stuff. Before Delicium, I was also a part of a Y Combinator company called RCT.ai. We specialize in developing AI MPC solution for game developers. That's when I started working in a startup. And before that, my first job after graduation is at Exola, where I started as a technical consultant and then move on to the product owner. So my career background started in gaming and then AI and then AI plus crypto.
Okay, got it. AI plus crypto is always a fun place to be. To start with then, Albert, I think it would be useful if you could, just explain a little bit about Compute Labs from a high level. What is the idea? What is the vision?
Yeah, so Compute Labs, we see ourselves as a AI and RWA project first. So we tokenize the actual hardware that powers AI revolution, which is the enterprise GPU, like H100, B200. So we tokenize those GPUs, turn them into a RWA token, where that token is going to be yield bearing. So it's going to have the future cash flow or revenue generated on those GPUs, rev shared with the token holders. And our core solution is just this GPU tokenization protocol, where we not only tokenize our own GPU, but also can help other partners to tokenize their GPUs. After the tokenization, we enable this direct exposure to the asset, to the underlying asset, where it's going to have the yielding, the staking, and we also going to work with partners like DeFi derivative to build all the DeFi Lego on top of this underlying tokenized asset.
Got it. So the kind of the thesis here is, and you talk about this on your website, you talk about how you believe that compute will become the currency of the future, and you are committed to democratizing access to that advanced AI infrastructure. So just to explain a bit of context, because everyone understands that there's this, AI technological boom happening, and for AI to continue to advance, there's an incredible demand for ever increasing amounts of compute, right? So just explain a little bit about that and where we are now and where we are going.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a bit more background about myself. Back in college, I majored in cognitive science. So it's a major where I study psychology, philosophy on why there should be AI intelligence in the first place. And after I started working in the Y Combinator company, we have been working with OpenAI since 2019, I think. So I just personally, I really believe in the AGI future, the artificial general intelligence. And in the meantime, we ourselves also had the issue with like, struggling with more compute, since that's needed for every single like AI operations, including training and also inferencing and fine tuning, things like that. Since 2022, we're seeing the AI boom becoming more and more transformative, and also I didn't even expect this AI boom to last such a long time. However, I think since like the OpenAI launch, the H100 or like the overall compute demand is skyrocketed. We're seeing on some marketplaces that for H100, if you wanna lease it or like rent it, you have to pay over $8 per hour. Now the price is coming down, but still there's a significant demand for using compute in the AI industry. And I first had this idea of like, I definitely want to invest and capture the most fundamental infrastructure in the AI industry, just considering, how big this can grow into. However, I think this was back in last February. So last year, there was no venue for anyone to invest in like the AI infrastructure, which is compute, at all. Like other than maybe we can invest in Nvidia stocks. That was the only venue. And starting from last October or September, I forgot the exact time, but that's when the RWA narrative really took off, thanks to the U.S. Treasury. That's when it just clicked to me that, well, maybe we can also apply the RWA elements to the GPU as well. So we combine the GPU and RWA, tokenize GPU, so that we can enable this direct access to this high yielding asset. And after the tokenization, all the financialization part will also come. Just like how, real estate, first it was only the trading, and then it comes with like all the futures, options, and derivatives. It took a really long time for all the financialization parts to develop, but I definitely think because of the high yielding feature of GPU assets, there should be a financialization market for the GPU as well. And that's our end goal, I guess, for Compute Labs.
Yep. Got it. All right. Thank you, Albert. Just to explain a little bit more then about how the Compute Labs Compute Tokenization Protocol works, just at a high level, and how being able to financialize or tokenize that compute power, how it changes the landscape for AI-based application.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the core solution for Compute Lab is definitely our tokenization protocol. It's going to be open source, and we will have this tokenization protocol to first mint a NFT, a on-chain asset that represents the GPU hardware that's running in our data center. And after the tokenization, there will also be the verification procedure, which we cover both from the software and also the hardware perspective. And in software, we run like multiple APIs. Depending on the manufacturer, it can be Nvidia or AMD or Intel, to determine first, for each GPU hardware, it actually matches with the model that we show in our metadata of the NFT. And after that, we also run computational tasks, like basically a small inferencing task that we make sure, the compute in the back is still operational. Yeah, that's, I guess, a high level of how the software verification works. We also have the hardware pieces. We're working with like some traditional background companies in both Web2 and Web3 to help us to verify and audit the assets, so that our users, our NFT holders, they can trust us by like one saying, for each NFT there's actual operational and functioning GPU backing it. So I just like by combining the software and hardware, we made sure like all the GPUs, there's a operational ones in the back backing the NFT.
Yeah, got it. And you want to, you say you want to build, so you're going to expand the AI-fi ecosystem, as you call it, and introduce derivatives on top of this as well, like a GPU ETF, compute index, perp, and staking, lending, etc. How do you propose to, I guess, enable everyone to participate in AI prosperity by enabling them to engage in, I guess, that kind of financial activity?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I guess we're talking about several different customer or investor groups here.
Yeah.
First will be the crypto retail users. And I guess for crypto users, one of the bigger thing about our asset is like its speculation on the yield. Because if we're just gonna provide a 30% stabilized yield, that's not gonna be super attractive, to be honest. That's why we're gonna have the PT and YT model, kind of like how Panda works, and to have the speculation to be, I guess, the main reason for retail users to participate. And in the meantime, like we're gonna have or enable the fractionalized GPU NFT, so that because usually for each GPU, let's say for H100, it's currently priced over 30K, and it's not that easy for a retail user, or like not comfortable for a retail user to simply hold an entire NFT. That's why we're gonna have the fractionalized fungible token that's gonna representing also the GPU, and have retail users to mainly trade that and participate in the speculation on that part. So that's the retail part. And in the meantime, we also have institutional investors, which I guess will contribute majority of the volume for the GPU NFT, just because for them, a 30% stabilized yield is super attractive. And depending on the different models, like sometimes the yield can even go up to 50 to 70%. And I guess like that's the biggest selling point for institutional investors. And in the meantime, we also want to make sure we have this governance token, which is called AFI, to be the foundation of the entire ecosystem. That's why, like, in order for any user to participate in the GFT public sale, they have to stake our IFI token, and it kind of worked like the Binance Launchpool and Launchpad model. So the more token you stake, the more allocation you will get for the GMT public sale. Yeah, I think that's probably like a general picture of how we plan to utilize, both our GMT token and also the IFI token to bootstrap the entire AFI ecosystem.
And then as well as, being able to, make it possible for both retail and institutional investors to participate, as you were talking about. You're also talking about different use cases with like big companies who have, I guess, like much more substantial GPU resource, and they could be looking to deploy that somewhere. So one option would be to deploy it effectively through you guys. And even you also talk about, I don't know how hypothetical this is, but AI data center operating partners as well. So maybe just explain, what that looks like. The companies with big GPU resources and like if an AI data center got involved as well.
Totally. So for AI companies who have tons of compute resources their own, one use case we're currently talking to several is like we will be able to help them to tokenize the GPU that's on their balance sheet. And by tokenizing it, they won't be able to access the financialization part, like borrowing against it, and also like participating in some staking and also a perpetual, like futures and option. That will be, I guess, one aspect of like how those enterprise level partners who will be able to use Compute Labs. And currently, we're talking to many data centers who have tons of compute themselves are interested in this, because by working with us, they will be able to basically unlock additional liquidity while still maintaining control on their own asset. And that's one of the biggest value add from our protocol. As for the data center operator, so we do have a plan to build our own data center, but just because, the data center field is so competitive and also saturated, we don't want to position ourselves in that field. We definitely don't want to play in that field. That's why we are having multiple data center operating partners worldwide to help us to operate all those data centers for us and to operate all those GPU. They have a professional management team, and basically we just construct a rev share model. If they bring in demand or like they have their own customer who want to consume the compute, they will just like charge us on a rev share basis. And if not, if they're just purely doing the operation for us, it will be just a fixed cost.
Very nice, very nice. Where are we in terms of, I guess, the product rollout or the roadmap, Albert? Like I can see on your website, you've got a roadmap. Just talk us through where we are on that roadmap at the moment. Is everything coming together? Everything going to plan?
Yeah. Sales are doing pretty well for us. So we closed our pre-seed round in April and have been building since then, mainly focusing on like launching the protocol on Solana. So now the protocol itself is already live on Solana mainnet. And in the meantime, we finished the H100 GMT pre-sale back in August, I think. And it took a few weeks for the vault to be filled, which was at 1 million. And we're currently preparing for the public sale. And after the public sale, like the first batch of GMT, the yielding will kickstart. And then all the investors, they will be able to like have the yield accumulated and also be paid to them either in USDC or in our own token, depending on the TGE. And in the meantime, we're also like in active conversation with exchanges regarding our token TGE. Because for us, it's definitely unique in a way that some projects, some crypto projects, they usually list their token when there's already a established ecosystem, established community, and some of them, like when they're gonna go TGE, that's gonna be the peak price for their token. Whereas for us, TGE is actually the step number one. Just because after the TG, we will have that token to be constantly buyback, and then we pay our investors in the form of our own AFI token. And as we grow our AUM or TVL, the more GPU and the more assets we actively manage under Compute Labs, the more usage or liquidity activity we'll have on the AFI token. That's why. So I often say that for Compute Labs, we're a Web2 and Web3 project where most of our operation and revenue, they actually come from Web2. But then we bridge that liquidity into Web3 by using our own token. So that we hope like, the flywheel can start spinning.
Got it. You mentioned earlier your involvement with OpenAI. And I can see also that Compute Labs was incubated by the Nvidia Inception VC Alliance. So what is the Nvidia Inception VC Alliance? Nvidia, obviously a very big name and, I guess like chip production for AI.
Yeah. So Nvidia Inception is basically a program where Nvidia, they choose a bunch of like startup and also venture capital with their own standard. And once you're enrolled in that program up and pass the application, they provide you with a few resources like the go-to-market support using their logo, and also like some GPU access. So they will be able to supply you with a small number of GPU at a reasonable rate. Yeah, like I guess that's the main perks of being in that program. And we also got direct access to some business units in Nvidia. However, like, so for Compute Labs, Nvidia Inception VC Alliance is definitely one of the supply channel we have, but it's not going to be our main supply channel. Our main supply channel comes from one of our advisors, who's a Nvidia portal. So Nvidia directly invested in his company, which is based in Taiwan and Japan. So like they have a really preferred rates and also lead time, and they can help us to like secure the supply we need when it comes to the GPU.
Yep, got it. You know, you obviously very bullish on AI yourself, and I guess right now AI is probably one of the more exciting industries on the planet. What's your kind of feeling on in terms of the advancement of AI towards AGI? What do you sort of get a sense of from the different people in the different labs as to, you know, how fast this is all moving, and you know how rapidly the world could potentially change?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. To be honest, like I have been bullish in the AGI throughout the whole time, and that's also why, you know, my last project's token, we actually named it as AGI. However, like realistically, I don't think AGI can happen or take place in the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe next 10 years that could be the case. Because recently I saw like also, you know, Apple research team, they released a paper saying, you know, the current inferencing is not the true inferencing. Just like it's basically AI trying to find a role after or based on like thousands of inferencing data. And I guess like I'm not super technical, so I will not like comment on if that's true or if that's indeed the case here. But definitely like there's a long way from my perspective in terms of like where we are now in terms like from the AGI perspective. Because AGI basically means the AI will be able to reason and also learn on its own, and you will not need to like actively like training and also do a lot of like fine tuning for him anymore, him or her. But I don't think we are at that moment yet, and I don't foresee us being there like in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe 5 to 10. Most likely, I think it's gonna be 10 years later.
Yep. All right. A very sensible analysis. Thank you, Albert. Look, as we start to finish up this part of the podcast, again, just make the case for why people should come and take a look at what you guys are building at Compute Labs, whether they're a retail investor, institutional investor, or perhaps they have a position in the wider AI industry. Why should they come and look at Compute Labs and what you guys are building, and what is the best way for people to do that? What should they do? Where should they go, Al?
Yeah. So I guess like for anyone who's bullish in the AI or AGI future, definitely take a look at Compute Labs, just because we are the first project that enable the direct exposure to the AI infrastructure, which is the compute. And it's not going to be the same as you guys investing in Nvidia, just because, you know, even Nvidia price sometimes went down. That doesn't really affect the revenue being generated on the GPU itself. As for like how to participate or like what to watch next, so Compute Labs, we are gonna launch our public sale in November, and definitely stay tuned with our Twitter, and we're gonna send out more info on the public sale very soon. Yeah.
Excellent. I'll put links to that, to the Twitter and everything in the show notes. But yeah, computelabs.ai. All right, well, it is time to finish up the show, Albert, and we do that, of course, by running you through the very famous Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round. Are you up for it?
Yeah, absolutely.
just going to run some questions at you, Albert, and I just want you to give me your honest answers, hot take style. Question 1 for you is, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
Sure. I will say I'm more on the multi-chain side, probably 60% and 40% on the Bitcoin.
Very nice.
And the rationale being, just like I definitely respect the Bitcoin and understand like Bitcoin staking and restaking is probably one of the biggest liquidity currently in the market. But in the meantime, I just don't see Bitcoin itself like scale and achieve the mass adoption. Because we have been talking about mass adoption in crypto for a long time, but I don't really see Bitcoin achieve that. Most likely it's gonna be another like chain, and personally I think it might be Solana. Yeah.
All right. Well, what would you say then, Albert, is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
That's a really good question, but also a tough one, because I definitely don't want to sound like biased. I feel like for me personally, the biggest conviction is that I do see the mass adoption in crypto to be achieved in the next 12 to 24 months. And I feel like that could be achieved through RWA perspective. And that's also why we're working with one of the leading RWA ecosystem out there, which is Plume. And I think they are doing some really fun stuff. And the team, they are super cool to work with. And yeah, like I hope, the RWA narrative can help achieve the mass adoption in crypto in the next 12 to 24 months. That's my personal conviction.
All right, well, let's wait and see. Bill Gates famously said we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. 10 years is a long time, but anything you want here, AI, compute labs, the financialization of AI. What does it all look like, Albert, in 10 years' time?
In 10 years, I definitely want to see that there's going to be the GPU ETF, the GPU bond, the future option, not only in Web3, but also in traditional world. And I guess before we achieve that, Compute Labs as one of the infra builder, we definitely want to have our own GPU custody solution built in place. But overall, I hope that in 10 years, when it comes to compute, it's just gonna be like any commodity we have at the moment, that it's super easy to trade, and also all the financialization components, it's already there, it's pretty established. Yeah, I think in terms of Compute Labs in the AI infrastructure perspective, that's my estimate or forecast in 10 years.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, William Gibson famously said, of course, that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example, Albert, of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
In terms of AI, or in terms of everything?
Everything.
Yeah, one of the examples that just off the top of my head would be how I guess AI is helping with many people in terms of their day-to-day job. And I heard someone saying that it's not gonna be AI that will replace you from your job, but instead it's gonna be the people who understand how to use AI to replace you. And I think that's super relevant here. There are many tools, and I expect only more and more tools to become available in terms of how AI can assist with your working productivity, and it's not evenly distributed. Some of the people are just they even don't have the resources, or they don't pay attention that much in terms of how AI can help them to increase their productivity. But I definitely recommend, or I definitely see that uneven distribution to be more evenly distributed, I guess.
I like it. brings us nicely, Albert, to the final question, which is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
One of my favorite movie for the past I think 5 years will be the Ready Player One. I'm not even sure if that's within that the last 5 years, but I still remember when I saw the Ready Player One movie, and when towards the end, I think it was the game director who was disguised as a elderly person, and he said, "Thank you for playing my game." And that was a moment I still remember, and I remember in the cinema, I instantly cried after hearing that quote, just because I just playing games or video games has always been a big part of my life since I was a kid. And how growing up, my parents or I guess the whole society, they don't see much positivity or positive effect on kids playing too much games. However, it's definitely a good way for me to had to deal with my pressure and all that. So having that dream, or having the overall world's attitude towards gaming gets improved, that's definitely something I really appreciate. And seeing that from the movie Ready Player One, that was one of the experience for myself. So that's one of my favorite.
Yeah, one of my favorites too. Ready Player One, great book, great film. I'm sure there's a sequel coming. Albert, it has been a lot of fun talking to you today. Just to close it out, please tell people where they can find you on X or anywhere else you like to hang out online. And again, where people should go to dive deep into the world of what you guys are building at Compute Labs.
Yeah, so I'm available on X with my handle being AlbertZ0502, and I'm constantly online for X. And in the meantime, feel free to check out our Twitter as well, or the Compute Labs Twitter, where we almost every single week we send out educational pieces on why we're doing this and how this is important. So yeah, and also thanks very much, Andy, for having me today.
Awesome.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much, Albert. This was fun. All the best, and bye for now.
Yep. Thank you, Bob.